Welcome back, fight fans. Welcome to another episode of What If, where we explore the hypothetical scenarios that could have changed the course of MMA history. Today, we're going to look at one of the most controversial trades in the sport, Demetrious Johnson for Ben Askren. In 2018, the UFC and ONE Championship agreed to swap their respective champions, sending Johnson to Asia and Askren to America. But what if this trade never happened? How would Johnson's career have unfolded in the UFC? Let's find out. Johnson, also known as Mighty Mouse, was widely regarded as one of the best pound-for-pound fighters in the world. He had defended his flyweight title a record 11 times, until he lost a razor-thin split decision to Henry Cejudo in August 2018. Many fans and experts thought Johnson deserved the nod and expected him to get an immediate rematch. However, UFC President Dana White had other plans. He wanted to see Cejudo face TJ Dillashaw, the bantamweight champion, in a super fight. Johnson was left out of the picture, and soon after, he was traded to ONE Championship. But in our alternate reality, this trade never happens. Instead, Johnson stays in the UFC and gets his rematch with Cejudo. The third fight between them is booked for early 2019, with both men having one win over each other. The stakes are high, as the winner will not only be the undisputed flyweight champion, but also cement their legacy as one of the greatest of all time. How does this fight play out? Stay tuned for the next part of this video, where we'll break down the action and see who comes out on top. Johnson and Cejudo are having a close and exciting fight, trading kicks, punches, and feeling each other out. Cejudo is clearly winning the first half of the fight, landing takedowns and dropping Johnson with a head kick and a Dan Henderson-style flying elbow, but Johnson survives. In the second half of the fight, Johnson comes back stronger and starts to dominate Cejudo with strikes and takedowns. He lands a liver shot and an uppercut left hook combo that drops Cejudo. He then picks up Cejudo and pulls off a flying armbar that makes Cejudo tap out in the final round. Johnson regains his flyweight belt and avenges his loss to Cejudo. He also becomes the first fighter to submit the gold medalist in MMA. What a performance by Mighty Mouse. We fast forward 6 months after Johnson's win over Cejudo, and we find him facing the number 3 ranked flyweight, Jussier Formiga, in late 2019. With Cejudo at number 1 and Benavidez at number 2, both of whom Johnson had already beaten twice, the only logical option for Johnson was to fight the number 3 ranked Jussier Formiga. This fight was not a big draw in terms of star power, but Formiga was a solid contender who had only lost to the elite of the division, such as Dotson, Cejudo, Borg, and Benavidez. However, this fight was also a mismatch, as Johnson was simply on another level. What a performance by Demetrious Johnson. He showed Formiga that there are levels to this sport, as he took him down right at the start of the fight. Formiga landed a nice left hook that caught Johnson's attention, but that was the only moment of success for him. Johnson dominated the entire fight, chopping Formiga's legs, landing punches and knees to the body, and mixing in his takedowns with his crisp striking. He even dropped Formiga with a head kick, and then finished the fight with one of the nastiest uppercut knockouts in UFC history. Johnson has defended his title once again, and cemented himself as the greatest flyweight of all time. After his dominant win over Jussier Formiga, the flyweight division has a new challenger for Demetrious Johnson, and he is a formidable one. His name is Deiveson Figito, and he is the only contender that Johnson has not faced and beaten at this point. He lost to Formiga in 2019, but he has shown his skills and toughness in his other fights, earning him a shot at the title. The UFC has booked this fight for a Brazil card, hoping that Figito will be the one to end the reign of the incredible, unappreciated Johnson. But will he be able to pull off the upset? Or will Johnson show him why he is still the king of the flyweights? This is a fight that you don't want to miss. Figito's power emerges early, landing an overhand that briefly forces Johnson back. Johnson strategically responds with takedowns, applying ground strikes effectively. Figito counters with a strong left hook, dropping Johnson, and a close miss with a spinning head kick. Johnson gains momentum, delivering ground and pound while seeking submission chances. Figito's uppercut drops Johnson once more, highlighting the power difference. Johnson recovers and starts to capitalize on takedowns, even knocking Figito down with a head kick. Dominant ground and pound follows, reflecting his relentless pursuit of a finish. Johnson initiates a submission attempt, halted by the round's end. Judges face a tough call, acknowledging Figito's knockdowns yet affirming Johnson's clear victory in 3 of 5 rounds. A closely contested result concludes in a split decision win for Johnson, securing his championship reign. Having successfully defended his title twice since regaining it, it's prudent to cast our gaze upon the prospective next contender. Redirecting our attention to August 2020, although reality saw Figito as the reigning champion and Brandon Moreno holding the top contender spot, this alternate chronicle positions Demetrious Johnson as the champion. Figito now stands at the pinnacle, ranked number 1, while Brandon Moreno claims the second rank, thereby establishing the stage for a consequential clash between Johnson and Moreno. Let's see how it played out. In a fierce showdown, both fighters exchange kicks and punches, displaying their skills from the start. DJ's takedown is met by Moreno's skilled jiu-jitsu, transitioning into a Darce choke. DJ drops Moreno against the fence with a body kick. Moreno recovers and counters with a spinning head kick and quick jab hook combo, dropping DJ. Johnson responds with a significant head kick, ground control, and forceful strikes. His targeted liver kicks set up a game-changing left hook, dropping Moreno. As a split decision favors Johnson, the UFC ponders a Moreno rematch or a new challenger. Fans lean towards Moreno, his redemption quest ignited by his standout Demetrious bout. Yet, as the anticipated Moreno rematch approaches, an injury befalls Brandon Moreno during his training camp. This unforeseen circumstance necessitates a sudden replacement for the versatile champion Johnson. Considering the current timeline of 2021, with Askar Askarov holding the third ranking, he emerges as the sole reasonable choice to step into the ring against the legendary Mighty Mouse. Since his triumph over Figito in their trilogy, Johnson's winning streak continues with victories against Jussier Formiga, Brandon Moreno, and Deiveson Figito. Now, he stands on the cusp of a remarkable 4th consecutive title defense against Askarov. Johnson's dominance prevails once more as he secures a decision victory over Askarov, capitalizing on Askarov's relative inexperience in 5-round battles. Now we fast forward to December 2021, where Demetrious Johnson is in search of the next contender to challenge his reign. The spotlight falls on Alexander Pantoja, the current flyweight champion, who in our alternate timeline is ranked 4th due to the presence of Figito, Moreno, and Askarov ahead of him, with DJ reigning as the champion. While the rematch with Moreno remains on the horizon, an injury sidelines him for a substantial year. This scenario logically positions DJ to square off against Pantoja as his next opponent. The fight starts with Johnson taking Pantoja down, but Pantoja attempts a guillotine that Johnson escapes. Johnson goes for another takedown, but Pantoja catches him in an armbar. Weary of Pantoja's guard, Johnson shifts to striking, landing body kicks, while Pantoja also showcases his improved striking. Johnson finds his rhythm, knocking down Pantoja with a head kick. Pantoja retaliates with overhands and dropping Johnson with a left hook. Johnson edges out the rest of the fight with his boxing, takedowns, and ground and pound, even checking a leg kick that stumbles Pantoja. Johnson wins by decision, marking his 5th title defense since defeating Figito, and his 16th overall in the UFC. The long-awaited rematch with Brandon Moreno is up next. After defeating Pantoja, Johnson was finally set to face Moreno in a highly anticipated rematch. The first fight was a back-and-forth war that ended in a split decision victory for Johnson, but many fans and media scored it for Moreno. The second fight was expected to be another close and exciting contest, but it turned out to be a one-sided domination by Johnson. Johnson had a point to prove this time, and he made it emphatically. He used his wrestling, movement, and striking to keep Moreno at bay, landing crisp combinations and landing takedowns at will. Johnson dominated Moreno for 2 rounds, landing ground and pound that opened up Moreno badly. Then in the 3rd round, he managed to take Moreno's back after barely absorbing any damage throughout the fight and made Moreno tap out. This second decisive win over Moreno brought Johnson's current title defenses to 6, leaving the question, is there anyone left for Demetrious Johnson to defeat? Now, if you know me at all or have watched my videos, especially my most slappable fighters tier list video, then you will know I have a strong dislike towards Kai Kara-France. That being said, and due to his ranking, I guess he's the only contender left, and because this is the only reality in which I can beat the absolute fuck out of him, then you know damn well I'm going to do so. Let's see how it plays out. Johnson and Kara-France trade head kicks, but Kara-France gets the worst of it as Johnson checks his next leg kick, injuring his shin. Johnson then starts to land more leg kicks and punches, keeping Kara-France at bay. Kara-France fires back with a leg kick, but Johnson eats it and takes him down, unleashing a barrage of ground strikes. Back on the feet, Johnson lands 2 consecutive head kicks that leave France wobbled. Johnson then finishes the fight with a left hook, knocking out Kara-France and securing a dominant victory. Now, this fight would probably play out a little different in reality, with Johnson edging a decision or maybe a late submission. However, my hatred for Kai Kara-France made me ultimately want to punish him for 5 rounds before deciding to put him out of his miserable existence.
I hate you! I hate the air that you breathe! I hate the fact that you're even living!
And that, ladies and gentlemen, brings us to the conclusion of our what-if scenario. Johnson reclaimed his belt from Henry Cejudo in the trilogy and then went on to defend it 7 times against Jussier Formiga, Davison Figito, Brandon Moreno twice, Askar Askarov, Alexander Pantoja, and Kai Kara-France. He has made a total of 18 title defenses and 2 title runs, making him the undisputed greatest fighter of all time, far ahead of John Jones' legacy even with his close loss to Cejudo. Of course, this is all speculation, and as always I encourage you to share your opinion in the comments section below. This is the MMA Spokesman, signing off. Thank you all for watching, and don't forget to subscribe.